Hi, and welcome back to Triumph Tales. Today, I'm delighted to introduce Ian Bickerton, the CEO and founder of BAM, Branding and Marketing Agency.
Nice to be here.
Thanks for coming in on a Sunday as well.
Well, it depends when you're viewing this, right?
Absolutely right. So, you're another foreigner like me, but based in Singapore?
Depending where in the world I am, whether I'm a foreigner as well.
Yeah. What brought you here?
Well, actually, I was young, 30-year-old working in, well, I'm younger than that, even working in London on the Global British Airways account, and I got sent to Singapore to fix it up, as it were.
And you've been here ever since?
I've been here ever since. Yeah. 26 years now. Yeah.
Exactly the same as me, so that's amazing. Now, I met you originally when I was running a listed company here called Datacraft, and we needed to do a brand refresh project.
Absolutely.
And I ran into a gentleman called Martin Roll, who helped me, trigger the whole project. And I needed somebody to execute, and you guys turned up.
It was a fantastic opportunity as well. I loved working on that. It was one of the great brands, I think, that we did. And we were just, as we were discussing earlier, it's like when you're working in my business of branding and marketing, when you arrive, when a company's going through that new energy comes in from a new leader like yourself, it's really exciting to be part of that, because it's just, you kind of roll along with the energy of it, and it adds to the whole dynamism of what we produce.
And I was being pretty selfish, because I remember reading a paper either by Morgan Stanley, I think it was Morgan Stanley, that said if you do a brand refresh project, it has quite an incremental positive hit on your share price over a period of time. So I thought, this is good, I need to do something here. And in the end, it materialized pretty well, amongst other things, better results and so on. But why do you believe, and I know you're passionate about it, why do you believe a brand refresh project can really help an organization?
I think it's not, well, when you're looking at branding and marketing, in essence, you're telling the story of the company. And I think what happens there is it happens both, a lot of people think of branding and marketing as like outward facing. And I think often when it's like a company that's refreshing itself or setting new direction, it's actually inward facing, and it needs to really, it kind of rallies the troops in many ways. Everyone gets excited about their own company and their own, new look or whatever. And I think it really, really helps kind of make a strong cohesion in the direction, in any new set direction, like you did with Datacraft, which was, you literally turned that company around, and it kind of being part of that. It does take both, does take good leadership, and it's more exciting when that's happening. But it also, I think, helps kind of visualize for everyone, this is the new us.
Yeah, and it creates a new sense of urgency and hope and optimism.
Yeah.
And so we're talking to you today because you founded this organization, BAM, recently.
Yep.
Tell me about that, why you did it here in this part of the world.
This is where I have to go back in time. Just go back on that one a little bit. So, I've been doing branding and marketing. I was thinking about this the other day, for 39 years, which is amazing because I'm only 25. But 39 years. And 5 years of college in the middle of all that as well. So it's a long time of doing it. And so I think a good 20 years ago, I started my first ever kind of entrepreneur business was Band. And that one got sold to Dentsu. And then I did 5 years at Dentsu. And then since then I've thought, you know what? I can't stop doing this. I'm a serial entrepreneur or an idiot. Can't figure out which one sometimes. But I just love doing it. It's just an exciting thing to do with working with clients. And it's, for me, I think in the way my mind works, it's a privilege to be able to go and work with all these different companies, different businesses.
But you could do that if you joined a big agency, you've got a reputation, you know the market well. Why not do that? Why would you go and start yet another company from scratch?
Right. I think once you've experienced being an entrepreneur and starting your own company, and you've had that realization that there are no rules. You can do, well, other than the law, and you can do what you want. There is no one that can tell you how to do this. And so you get to do new things, new innovations, try out different things and see what works. And I know everyone will try and give you a formula, and there are to a degree some formulaic ways of doing things. It's so liberating. And I can go meet a client and they go, I want to do this, that, and the other. I go, yeah, let's do it, and not have to worry about going back to head office and talking to the CFO and the all those guys about how it's going to work. So
one of the things I was drawn to your team originally was not only you and the rest of your team, but was the creativity. The fact that you guys would push the envelope in ways that other companies were very safe.
Yes.
And I love that, and I think other companies would love it too. But has that been the way that you've built your business, that you're edgy, quote unquote? Or
it's interesting you say that, because I often, in my career, I was known as the suit that can draw. And I was trained as a creative, and I was a creative director. But I ends up where I would go and meet the clients, and I'd have such an empathy or understanding for their business, or try to. And I get so invested in what they were trying to do that actually I was trying to creatively think of how they could get the result they wanted. So often I think of myself as not very creative. The problem here is it's unique to every company, every person. And if you don't understand that, where do you start from? You're just copying from other people and saying, do you like that? And I think it's really, so it's weird that you say that. So I never really thought of myself as creative. I know the team I have and the people I work with, the way I do it is, and this is kind of interesting for going on to another question, which I want to ask you about, actually, is business structure and how there's the pyramid structure of a company. And I kind of go for kind of a constellation structure. I think everyone's a star. So my job is to see how everyone can shine and what they can do brilliantly. And that kind of does create an environment for people to express themselves and be more creative. And
so has your business changed? I mean, we're going to have a conversation around technology, of course, but the change over time between your first organization and now, AI has entered the fray.
Yeah, definitely.
Has that changed your industry, or is it about to change your industry?
It's obviously having a big impact. I think it's very, I think interesting marketing, branding, marketing, podcasts, video. I don't know if you've seen the new video tools from OpenAI. It's just jaw-dropping, the quality of image it creates. It is transforming the industry. I mean, there's big disruption within the creative industry. I think we're looking at, when we saw ChatGPT arrive, every copywriter that used to write advertising copy just went, uh-oh. But now it's shifting, and they're going, if I was hiring a young writer these days, I would say I'd still need to see your style, but I'd expect that you'd be using the tools of like ChatGPT, Claude AI, to kind of brush up, kind of help with your...
Because obviously one of the questions I'm leading up to is as you built Band, you were building it on great talent and people and so on.
Yep.
Now you've got a chance to build a new agency in the world of AI. Does that mean you don't hire so many people and you now use tools, or how does that work?
I think that's an interesting one as well. I was thinking about this just the other day, actually, because with and with Band, and we position ourselves as branding and marketing, not just marketing, which can be a bit commoditized, and you can just be a delivery agency. So we definitely want to be, the way we position ourselves is we're at the kind of C-suite level, having a conversation about what the company needs to do. And then we go into the execution of it. And so what I'm seeing more is we tend to get more of a discussion, more interaction. What I'm seeing more now is the production side, where if we're producing an ad, for example, and normally there'll be illustrators and videographers and directors, and that stuff is definitely becoming a tricky area. They're going to have to compete quite carefully here, I think. And they have to move themselves up the game to become more storytelling capable production facilities, or they're just going to get replaced by tools that can do it for you.
Wow. So tech companies, that is an audience, obviously, that we're talking to big companies, we're talking to small companies. All of these organizations at some point talk to an agency such as yourself.
Yep.
Do you feel that now with these tools, clients can start to do more themselves?
It's a good question again. I think, okay, so this gets deep into the AI now.
Good.
So I think in the past, when I was, I worked with Cisco and worked with all the, you and Datacraft, Dimension Data, and a lot of EMC, and I've done a lot of the big tech companies and a lot of the B2B sector. And a lot of that was driven by CRM systems and client relationship management. Often, though, the way a company is structured, particularly in their own marketing, and particularly with large tech companies, where normally they don't really have to sell much, because if they've got the product right, it's already selling itself. So marketing is an afterthought for a lot of those companies. So you'll see that and then they go, okay, now we need a CRM system. And they'll go, now who's going to run it? And they go, oh, there's no one in the organization that's that invested in marketing. And even the marketing department's too busy running around supporting sales. So it ends up where they outsource the management of the CRM system. And I'm seeing the same thing happen with AI right now. They all go, oh, right, let's build our own internal AI tool.
Very much so.
But then you go, great, but you've got 1,000 people producing images of cats. You've still got to have somebody that knows how to turn that into a branding messaging tool. And it's, it still requires effort, time, training, expertise, knowledge of how to do marketing. But further down the line, we're going to see AIs that will do that as well. So you will have the marketing director as an AI role. So it'll come in and go, this is your business, this is the strategy, this is the platform you'll execute on, this is how we'll do it. And it is going to become quite automated. The danger there is, I think, sorry, I'm just really talking. Is it could become grey soup.
Meaning?
So everyone, your AI will be marketing to their AI.
Okay.
And you'll just go, it'll be optimizing itself, and eventually it just becomes bland.
Yeah.
So you've still got to have something in there.
Grey soup, term of the day. Good.
So it's a tricky one. Now, I'm assuming that the AI could also see that and go, well, let's do something different. But still, at that point, somebody's got to go approve it, perhaps.
So key question, AI, is it transformative internet moment, or is it just another tool in the toolbox?
It's a big one, isn't it? I hadn't seen this question a lot this year. Talking about this a lot. I'm still formulating my answer, but I heard a great statement the other day where he said it's like, it's either the beginning of the next evolution or it's the beginning of the end.
Ooh,
which is quite dramatic. And I think people tend to go into those two camps, either the optimists or the pessimists about this. For me, I think it certainly in my industry, it's definitely transformative in a massive way. It's very enabling as well. Suddenly being able to create any image we want, any video, any footage we want is quite powerful. So it certainly speeds up our productivity and helps us with idea generation as well. But I think I'm looking at it through the lens of marketing, but AI, when you look at it through the lens of all business and government, and I mistakenly read the FT, which you have to take with a pinch of salt every day because it's quite. I think AI is the headline on every day of every FT paper. And they say, I'll talk about 50% of all jobs could be displaced by AI. So it could actually be such a big impact that it transforms society around us, which I guess is the internet moment, isn't it? I guess, in a way.
So creativity you touched on earlier. Is there such a thing as a business of creativity, or is just creativity inherent inside of people?
Well, that's a good... So creativity is not exclusive to creative people, right? Everyone can be creative, and everyone is creative in their own right, nature. But the business of marketing, branding, advertising, the creative industry, I believe it's like $650 billion business globally. So it is business in its own right. And I guess, that's the bit where, and I've worked in the big agencies, and that's a bit where I always try to, sometimes I don't think I'm particularly good with authority because I'm too used to having autonomy to do the way I want to do it and work with clients the way I want to work with clients.
Oh, I'd like to probe into that.
So I tend to, but it is a business, and and like any business, it's there to create careers, it's there to create jobs, it's there to create work with the economy. But you're meant to be part of the big game, right? So, like any other business. But I think the one thing that as a business it is, and the way it interacts with other businesses is its creativity. Our job is to bring energy into the companies that we work with, like we did with you, and we had a great time working with you on Datacraft, and even I mentioned data later. It was that energy and that kind of fusion of ideas and coming together that makes it really exciting, I think.
What about those guys in university now that may be listening that's looking to pick a career, maybe learning digital tools, maybe using AI tools, maybe learning all the latest, greatest, but they have a passion to move into the creative world? Would they would you encourage them to look at smaller organizations like yours that are exciting and growing, or do you encourage them to go into the big agencies and learn their quote unquote learn their trade before they move?
And again, so I think, traditionally the agency world used to just have interns and students come in and they're kind of
almost like a production line, right?
Pretty much
like the legal or banking say, right?
But now it's getting harder to justify that, because though the AI tools can do a lot of the level of work that they would be given to do. So I think that right now, that as a creative coming into the industry, okay, if you're a writer or you're an art director or a designer or a graphic designer, whatever you want to be, or a videographer, whatever, you really, more than anything, need to be a storyteller in your head. And to be a storyteller, the hardest part about that is it takes experience of life and an understanding of people. And
so that doesn't change. The toolkit may change.
Well,
that's still a fundamental skill, isn't it?
It is. So I would say that's exactly it. You've actually just summed that up beautifully, because it's just another tool. It's a toolkit, right? A good creative is not limited by their tools. The tools are just another extension of what they can do.
Exactly. It should expand their universe rather than shrink it down.
And I think often I'll see, whilst I am a bit of a techie nerd myself, and I love all the tools, and I love all the technology, and I love all this AI stuff, and I love every piece of software I can get my hands on. And it does help. You do need to know it. I think adds to your toolbox. But at the same time, it can't be as we say in creative industry, we can't be all gloss and no content. I've got all gloss and no idea. Or as my old creative director used to say in London, if your idea is a turd, stop polishing.
There you go. Yeah.
And I think it's true, and that still remains true. So even with all the glossy tools in the world and all the fantastic gizmos and gadgets, if the idea is not right, it doesn't
stand up.
It doesn't stand up.
So again, back to those early stage companies that founders may be listening, and I know you talk to founders of different tech companies to help them get their story told.
Yeah.
If they're very early stage, when do you think they should be talking to companies like you? They may be newly minted, they've done Series A, they may have some money. When do they start to tell the story using companies like you, or do they struggle through it on their own? What's your view? I think your coaching.
My coaching on that would be, I fully understand that when they're starting their businesses, they've got their unique idea, their whatever they're doing that is their business is going to be, and communicating that to their audience in the beginning is either very one-to-one, or B2B, or very limited audience you're trying to talk to very quickly, especially if they've had no funding at all yet,
and protecting their cash
and protecting their ideas as well. They can get very careful about that. So often marketing or their brand is the last thing in their mind. They'll sit there and scratch their heads and go, "What's the name of this thing? What's the name of our business?" But after that, they go, "Okay, now our job is to build it, whatever we're going to be." So it definitely comes at a second stage in their evolution, I think, which is probably first round, where they go suddenly, "Okay, we're looking to expand ourselves now. We're going to either going, a bit more cross-border or whatever," and they go, "We need to kind of get our story straight on our brand and who we are. What are we actually communicating?" And as we talked about earlier as well, the power of creating a unified internal messaging.
Exactly, and that's part of the work we do now, is helping people get their narrative straight internally, externally to clients, and also externally to investors, so that they can attract money. There's a certain taxonomy that the VC world likes to hear, and it's just helping them tell the story. But then we look to companies like you to help them then execute on this story. So, but it takes money, and when do they spend, when do they not spend?
I think, it doesn't have to be mega bucks. I mean,
Sure.
I think there's ways around it these days, but I think that there is a really amazing, incredible moment when I've worked with clients like that, and when they've gone, this is their vision, this is what they're doing, and then you first show them, and this is what it looks like, and everyone goes,
"Wow,
whoa,
it's a wow moment.
It's alive."
Yeah,
it's physically, you can see it and experience it, and I love doing that. We even with the founders and the CEOs, it's like you can even see them light up. They go, "That's it, I can see it."
Very much.
And I think that, and then they're really excited to show everyone else and go, "This is what we are." And I think it's a lot of fun to do that, and it creates a lot of energy in the business. It's a really powerful thing. It's people just look at branding and marketing as like the afterthought of this is my business. Actually, it can be a really powerful driving force in propelling them forward and getting everyone excited.
So that's when everything goes right. Any examples of when it doesn't?
Yes. Well, I think there's, many, I'm sure. But I think in my experience, it's when I've worked with clients and I can see that their business is feeling a bit stale. And even internally, you can sense that they want something to change. And without the right internal leadership, and I've worked with you where that's not been the case. You've always got it right. But I think it's just it's almost impossible to get the shift internally because there's too much internal politics going on, and you end up with nobody can set any direction. Everyone's got a different idea about who they are, what they do, what they exist for. The sales guys are screaming at the product guys. The product guys are screaming at marketing, and the CEOs trying to herd cats.
Exactly.
It's not. Those are situations where asking branding and marketing to come in and save the day probably not going to. It might just be glossing over rather than doing anything properly. But mostly, I would say, when I've seen it applied correctly, and in the right moments, particularly with startups, it's powerful. It works.
So how do you measure the success of one of your campaigns? What's the sort of key metrics that you like to look at?
Well, it's many. Obviously, ultimately, the business becomes more successful. Our client business becomes more successful. They get more sales. Their revenue goes up. Their share price goes up. Those are the ultimate bellwethers of success. Having said that, they very rarely does that get attributed to marketing and branding.
Yeah.
They'll go, well, that's because of the brilliant sales team, and that's because of the brilliant strategy.
Yeah.
They won't go, that's because, the advertising campaign pushed sales. But you can, and I've done it in the past with clients with where it's very, very B2B, very, very data managed. I can literally go, let me do a campaign for you in 1 month, and I can give you a 20-to-1 ROI on it.
And we can literally move the needle.
We can literally move the needle. And it's at that level. Branding itself, or building a brand of a company, clearly you can measure brand sentiment. You can do all the data tracking of all that kind of stuff, which is very useful. But at the same time, it's often you just feel it.
Yeah,
I can say it's a weird thing. It's like when the brand is working because everyone gets behind it. I recently did an NCS, rebranded a company in Singapore called NCS.
Can you explain who NCS is?
So NCS, 40-year-old business, pretty much founded along with Singapore by the government here, who had national computer systems, and basically it was to make sure that Singapore kept up with the rest of the world, or was ahead of the rest of the world on its digital strategy. It separated out, became part of Singtel, which is a local telco in Singapore. So like over a $3 billion company, employs 10,000 people, but it was considered to be one of the old boys of the industry and not very exciting. And so a new CEO came in, a brilliant man, and he kind of his job was to refresh it. And so we came in, we rebranded it, and we came up with a new logo for them, and it was amazing because it had a double slash at the end of the logo, which was meant to be about the forward motion. And suddenly we had people in all the 10,000 people were suddenly having their photograph taken doing this. And so it kind of became not just their logo, it became their kind of almost their salute.
Almost like dabbing.
Yeah, dabbing. That was it, exactly. Yeah. So, when that works, you're going, wow. They did that on their own. We didn't, that was.
But you were the kind of spark that lit the fire, right? I guess.
We did the logo, and, I think it was just people when, they're on their own, they kind of come up with this stuff. But that means that they've not. Often you can do branding in large companies like that, where everyone just, the board can sit there and go, why are we wasting money on this? We've got other things to be doing. But suddenly when you see the whole of 10,000 people within a company embrace it and suddenly get them, and it's a lot more than just the logo, but embrace all that, it's incredibly uniting and powerful. So everyone just goes, this is worth it. This is great. And the innovation and then the new messaging and positioning changes. So
I remember we had a team in the organization that we used to be known as branding. Used to be known as marketing.
Yep.
And I wanted to change the name to brand management and so on. And I see a huge difference between managing your brand and just simple marketing. in a B2B environment. You know, in B2C, this is a whole different world, but it was also heavily impacted by the budgets, and discretionary spending in tough times is one of those things that gets cut back very quickly.
Definitely.
How do you ride those waves of spending's available, spending's not available?
So I think, marketing is the marketing and advertising industry is a bellwether of the global economy.
Yeah, canary in the gold mine almost. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So, so it is first impacted and the first to recover. So I think, in my experience, and I went through the 2008, 2009 thing out here, and and this globally, that was a big impact on the industry. In my experience at that time, I was really like, oh, here we go. And I think at that time, I had like 60 or 100 employees across Asia Pacific, and I was like, okay, this might be time to cut back, which is horrible. I hate doing that. But actually, we got through it. And the thing that got us through it, I think, was we were very attached to the value we brought to our clients. We're very focused on that. What we do, both in terms of financial value, that we're trying to help sales happen, trying to make results happen, but the value of invested in the success of their business. And so actually, our clients tended to be, they go, we're going to have to cut a bit of budget, but you know what? There's other parts we can cut from. So they'd try and protect us. And I was incredibly appreciative, quite humbled by it, to be honest. But at the same time, I think it helped us ride out that period. And luckily, that, and a year later, we were back up to full speed again. I think if you've got a business and you're already struggling to prove your worth and value, then it's going to be much harder.
So there's a school of thought which I tended to focus on as well, which was at the on the downturns, when the market's down, that's the time you should spend. That's the time when you can shout and get heard, grab some mind share, so that when the market comes back, believe in that? Don't believe in that?
Yeah, I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm not a very.
You take it either way, right?
I'm not a market investor, so I if I had the danger of I got to be careful here. The danger of being an entrepreneur is, by nature of being an entrepreneur, there's an ego with it, comes with it. You should kind of have to check yourself sometimes, because you just believe that you've got this vision and you're right and you're going to do it, and you need that. It's almost
you do. It's almost a myopic focus.
It is. It's a bit it's like a bit of narcissism involved in it. Because if you didn't believe in yourself, you'd sit in the corner and cry. So you have to kind of be a little bit egotistical to go, I can do this, and believe in yourself. So I guess when it comes to investing, things like that, I'm so invested in what I'm doing in my own business, and the results I can create there. I look at markets and buying stocks or investing and things like that, and I go, that's just so slow and boring. I can do things 10 times faster than that. Obviously, the risk is way higher. I think the best way I've heard it described was entrepreneurs are like princes, or princesses even, but CEOs are kings. They're running the empire. Entrepreneurs are, you go out and fight the battle, but somebody else can take all the spoils, because...
Interesting view.
So, and that's what happens with entrepreneurs. Like I did it with I sold my business to, I'm very grateful to that, and had a great success with that. But eventually they take it off you, and they walk away with it because they can...
Isn't that painful to hand over? I mean, isn't that like handing over a child? You've built it, you've nurtured it, you've created it, you've educated it, and now you hand it over.
Yeah, it wasn't actually to make money. It was because we hit the point where we'd expanded into Shanghai, Hong Kong, Sydney, in Singapore. So we were covering Asia Pacific at the time, and the next level of expansion required a lot of money, a lot of investment. So we had a choice. We either got investors to come in and back us, or we'd go and partner or join or get a bigger agency to acquire us with a contract that said we're tied in for like 5 or 6 years, and we can build out that network.
So when did that conversation take? I mean, is that something you deliberated on for a long period of time, or was that over a weekend?
No.
How was that decision?
It was a long process. I think, first of all, and this is where we're getting it very businessy now. We had a business advisor, much like yourselves, working with us for 3 years prior to that, because they're making sure that you're first of all, you have to be structured and look good on paper.
Absolutely.
For anyone to even think
numbers quietly lined up, proper audits, everything.
And also they want one of my favorite sayings that you gave to me many years ago. Was it sales are vanity?
Yeah.
Revenues, sanity
and profit.
Profits, reality.
Sorry, cash is reality.
Cash is reality.
Yeah, cash is.
So I'd always love that saying. And it's true. And you know, any good business is never looking at sales; it's always looking at margin. So I think you go through that whole process, and eventually it gets to the point where they go, "Okay, we're all ready. We're all in order. Let's go out to the market." And that's a bit of it's a head spinning moment, I have to admit, because I've spent like 15 years building my own company, going out there and selling and promoting ourselves, to suddenly being courted by these big companies. We love what you've got, and we're we're very lucky. We had a little bit of a bidding war over us. Very nice time, which was nice to be in that position. But that's also the industry I'm in, the marketing and branding industry and advertising. It's I describe it like the Roman Empire. It's always acquiring to feed the center. And sometimes it's just acquiring P&L or profit, so they can up their numbers generally across the group. But they're always, you know, they're big enough. Some of these big agencies, the big four, they're big enough just to buy the competition out,
right?
Rather than, but they want that because they're always looking for the next fresh thing.
So is that the plan for this company? What is there an exit plan yet, or that you would care to share?
And there is at the moment. The exit strategy is beyond my life, put it that way.
Okay.
I'm not building this one for me. I've had the pleasure of doing that with Band, and it was a lot of fun, very exciting, even with the ups and downs. But this one, I'm building it for the next generation, and I think the team within BAM, Liz and Nick, you know, Nick's the creative director, Liz is the managing director. They're brilliant young people, and I'm just enjoying watching them do fantastic work, and I think it's their future, really. I mean, I'm here, what shall I say, I'm just kind of, I guess I'm just trying to be the steering ship at this point for them to take it where they want to go.
Got it.
So this one, I'd like it to go on beyond me, and like them to enjoy it. And if I'm really good, they'll treat me nicely as I get older and keep me on as a board director.
Well, so did you, first time around, did you bootstrap the business yourself?
Yep.
Did you get external funding?
Nope, we completely funded it. When I started Band, it was me and a laptop.
There you go.
Literally. And that turned into, I think we were doing about 25 to 30 million a year by the kind of point we were selling.
Amazing.
Which is, you know, that's the no advertising media or media budget within that. It's pure just marketing, creative and branding.
So why didn't you go down the venture capital route? Was it considered, or did you?
I was very, there's a bit of luck in this and there's a bit of everything. So I did that. The first client I got was Cisco. And at the time, as we all know, Cisco's a massive.
And this is what year?
Oh, this is probably 2003.
Pretty early days.
Yeah.
An explosion of Cisco systems.
And, you know, and that went within the first year was $1 million client.
Yeah, there you
go. So, you know, so as a startup, I was very lucky to have such a great client that was obviously happy to finance and pay for good marketing. And they were very, very B2B focused, very detailed. So it's good discipline to work with those guys. I mean, they were some of the big, as we all know, you know, some of the best channel marketing strategies in the world came out of Cisco.
For sure.
They pretty much wrote the book, I think, some of that stuff. So I was very lucky to have that. And they stayed with me for 10 years. So once you've got a foundation client like that, it almost became necessary to go out there and say, we need cash to grow. We were just growing with
now you need working capital, right?
Yeah, and so we were just growing with that. But I think that was the point where we did get to that point where we get the next evolution of growth. And maybe I wasn't being aggressive enough, perhaps, but it felt like for me at the time, felt like we were growing very quickly. Now I look at it and I go, you know, what I did in 15 years, perhaps I should have done that in 3 to 5 years.
Okay. So even though you're successful, you're still critical.
Yeah. I'm not even sure if I should be on this podcast because I think the title of it is Success. I was like, I don't know. I always feel like success is an end state, and I don't feel like there's an end.
Okay.
And I feel like it's like failure is an end state as well, but you can't fail if you don't stop.
There you go.
And my view is I'm just keep going.
You're on the journey.
Yeah.
It's not a destination; it's a journey.
Absolutely. All those
people always say.
All those cliches, but it's true. It's true. I mean, it's, you know, and that's my view is. just enjoy it as much as you can. It's going to be terrifying as well, but enjoy it.
Yeah, you highlighted a point there, which is a lighthouse account transformed your business.
Yeah.
Is that something that you would encourage other entrepreneurs, say people that have founded tech companies and so on? Is that a transformative moment when you get one client that really, really believes in you and goes with you?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's actually two transformative moments. It's that if you can get that one key account, fantastic. The second step is, can you grow that into multiple key accounts? And that was because otherwise all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, absolutely. Huge risk.
It's huge risk. So if they go out of business or they turn around and go, sorry, thanks, we're done.
Yeah.
You're out of business too. So that's the bit where you've got to go. I call it the 4-4-4 model in my industry. So we've always got 12 key accounts that we're working on. 4 will be the major key accounts. I've got 4 that are moving towards being major key accounts, and I probably have 4 that are either leaving or exiting, or their businesses are doing something different. So you're kind of rotating that.
Very nice model.
And then that gives you enough momentum to keep going. So you're never in a position where we lost that account, we're done. Or we're closing the doors. So you're always trying to build that security around your own business model of this cyclical process. But having said that, I did that based on in the time when clients would last for three years with an agency before fatigue would set in. They'd go, we want something fresh. But most of our clients stayed with us for 10 years. I mean, I had Mastercard for 10 years, Cisco for 10 years. So I think as long as I can't think we were staying so contemporary, fresh in our approach, that the clients tended to go, well, there's no issue here, let's just stick with you. Often I would be inheriting the new CMO, and I'd walk in and they go, all right, who are you? And they go, oh, they look at what we're doing, carry on.
Okay.
Which is great. They're very proud of that. I'm very proud of all the teams that did that and the people. So some of those 4s that we had were there for a long time.
So kind of wrap-up question.
Yep.
2024, Asia Pacific.
Yep.
Markets being what they are, AI coming into the world very fast again.
Yeah.
We've got all kinds of disturbances going on in the world, as always.
Yeah.
So optimistic for 24?
It's interesting. Yes, I am. I'm always optimistic anyway. I have to be by nature. But I would say if I was going to say, if I'm going to say something pessimistic, I would say, obviously we're watching the world right now and it's crazy out there. I mean,
No kidding.
Not the geographic political tension. No, not to mention technology. I learned a new word recently: bifurcation.
Yeah.
Wow, good. I was like, okay, so which means essentially the splitting up of political alignments along who buys what technology. And when we see it all the time, we see clients. We're seeing it with AI. If your AI tech chips are not bought from America, that company can't work with you. So it's an interesting time. Weirdly, I'm seeing AI impact us in 2 ways in 2024, and I'll get onto the answer about the financial stuff. For us in the creative industry, particularly in a geographic region of Asia Pacific, which traditionally has been very difficult to market to because of the multiple languages and cultures.
It's not one region.
It's not one region, but suddenly with AI, I can now create unique imagery for every culture, and I can create unique in translation capabilities as well. Not
in record time.
In record time, whereas before it was translation houses, different photographers, artists, illustrators. Now I can have it do that very quickly for from Thailand to Malaysia to China to down to Australia, and quickly adapt it to make it fit each market. Financially, going forward 2024, I was just saying that we've had a very good end of 2023. I think because I'm starting up a business and I've managed to talk to some old clients and old friends, we've had a good start, and I'm very excited about this year. We're looking very good. I might have skipped over what's really happening in the market. I might have still getting a feel for the bellwether of, as I was saying, branding and marketing is the bellwether. I'm still waiting. First half of this year, I'll answer that question again.
Brilliant. Well, Ian, thank you very much for coming in today. I really appreciate you giving us some time and some great insights as what it's like to start an organization in the branding and marketing world, particularly in Asia Pacific. So thanks, Ian. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. Like for 24.
Thank you. Let's go.